hacer algunas reflexiones, porque en verdad el mundo de hoy nos invita a pensar muchas cosas y sobre todo en este panel que se llama si la democracia va a sobrevivir o no a la era digital.
And this is really a topic. I believe that we are now facing a time of great social disquiet. We're facing a world which is marked and characterized by uncertainties. We've come through ages of change, and we've entered an age of profound upheaval. We are still kind of in the interregnum phase between what we thought before and what we thought was certainties before and what we will think about things in the future. But on top of that, we're also facing changes of such an order of magnitude that they really have an impact on our spatial time perception. And I think digital will also be taking us down that road. For example, it will have an impact right up to the throughout the upcoming century, and on top of it, change is taking place at an ever greater pace. And therefore I'd say there's also a certain fear that has taken hold of society as a whole. So what we've called that the tectonic shifts. Tectonic shifts that are really of that order of magnitude because they affect the technological revolution and great migration that is taking place on a daily basis. Obviously, we have always witnessed migration, but right now we're actually witnessing mass migration. People are getting on the move. We have caravans of refugees, etc. And the climate change is also drawing ever closer. And then we also have this technological revolution that has changed us and that is changing us as we speak. And I believe that we've called it the hyperglobalization. And we call it the hyperglobalization for a certain reason. I'll show this interesting graph to you because hyperglobalization has created a very, very high level of concentration. We're talking about democracy and digitalization, but actually the digital technology is in the hands of these companies. We're talking about 7 companies on the whole. 7 companies that have a market capitalization which is even superior to the GDP, per capita GDP in Brazil. Simply look at this graph. You can see GDP of Latin America there, and these 7 digital companies, the most important, the 7 largest companies, have $5.2 trillion, and the GDP of Brazil is 2.0 trillion, or GDP of Latin America is just barely above that, rises to 5.4 trillion. So this era of digitization, is it really the era of the citizen? Sorry, I think we need to step back a bit and think about this. We're really facing concentration. So what is really happening? We're having few companies and very few governments, for that matter, very, very few, are actually having access and really taking ownership of our information. Illegally, they're having access to our brains, to our preferences, our daily lives. And if I say illegally, of course we've given them a permit having set our signature to the terms and conditions, and then we just turn around and say accept. But what does that mean, to accept under those conditions? It simply means that I'm giving these companies, because those are these companies that are collecting the information, or the governments, because they have the necessary capacity to process this, we're giving them access to our lives. I'm giving them access to my life, to my brain. I'm giving them access to my preferences and predilections. And what are they going to do with that? Well, to tell you the truth, the political system will use it for electoral processes, for example, elections. They will look at you as electors and they will say, well, the voter has right. I'll try to see what are the preferences of these electors. And I'll try to see how I can align my electoral campaign with them. And then the companies see us as a consumer because, well, somebody says, well, I prefer a bottle of Coca-Cola, or I need an umbrella when it's raining. So all of that's me. So who really is in charge? That's really the question. These companies and governments that are recording our information, our personal data, will continue to have an ever-increasing influence on us. So, as our colleague from Kenya said right now, what can I do as a citizen? You're just dazed and bewildered. The situation is confusing. We have a global situation which is very, very complex. The interaction is very, very complex for simple, normal human beings. Very, very difficult to understand. I really look at things that really are of concern to me, for example, getting a job, for example, or what does decarbonization mean? And then we have these global issues that are about the common good, the public good, and we are losing sight of that. The interest of the majority are the interests of the citizenship, like, for example, climate security, the environment, and also and public goods, public institutions. Here in Germany, you have public goods. For example, you can go outside, there are parks, there's a police force that takes care of people. And other places, well, if you just don't go down to the street, go out into the street, there's no public good. You simply get shot. So I believe that we need to link up much more. Because what happens right now? All of this information is very, very intimate. I am face-to-face with my computer, with my cell phone, and what really is taking place is that we're losing the bigger picture. So we need to really link up more to build visions and foment ideas together. So this is linked to an increasing sense of disquiet and dissatisfaction in society. People are enraged, people are angry, and dissatisfaction is taking hold. In Latin America, people believe that 60% of the government or the institutions are either corrupt or don't merit to be supported. So there's a very, very low tax moral, as they call it, a tax base, because people simply try to eschew paying taxes. So to tell you the truth, I think technology is changing everything from scratch. Technology is changing our lives and our way of thinking. In Latin America, we're actually well positioned, given if you look at this, for example, when it comes to technological adoption and broadband technology, we're roughly at a 70% range here. That's not that bad, but the problem is not technological penetration in that sense. We do have internet. It's not of great quality, so it's still a 3.0 or 3G internet, not a 4, much as a 5. But we all consume through our mobile devices. But nothing of these devices is constructed or built in Latin America. So it is built in China, so we have a patent that comes from the United States, it's built in China, and then we use it. So what we need to do is change, because people are starting to feel uncertainty. Also when it comes to the world of labor. In Latin America, I have to tell you that the labor world, if we look at who will be affected by the digital revolution, then look that it will affect disproportionately those who have a very basic education. Those who are in sectors of low productivity right now, they don't care really right now. They'd love to have a mobile device because they could go to the bank with that or use it as a bank. But when it comes to artificial intelligence or anything else, nothing. For example, the person who is in the marketplace and with a market stall, or somebody who's working out in the fields, they don't care. So we really have to see those and look at those who are most affected and the ways in which companies and their organizations are trying to change, and labor relations are also being changed. But there's also a very sensitive aspect. There are no slides anymore. These are really my final remarks here at this point. Something that is really complicated and difficult to express. The future is being defined in our absence. We're just thinking about daily things, about the child we have to take care of, dinners that has to be prepared. But the world as such is being defined and designed without our presence, and we need to change that. It is being defined without our say. And the only way that we can change that is by activating citizenship. An organized citizenship has to come to the fore. A concerned and an enlightened citizenship needs to take control here. Of course, we look at all of these promises, and obviously it is important for democracy to have technology because it provides access to information for the citizen, and it can provide to open systems of open governance. But the Accord of Escazú that was also negotiated in Latin America provides a guarantee for access to information, to justice, and also for the activists, for example, who were working to defend the environment. All of that has really been a huge effort, but it was only able to be achieved with the help of an active citizenship. And if we do this, then we can work. But what happens to our region? Just like Kenya, we're caught in the middle between two juggernauts, between China and the United States. And the decision between Huawei and iPhone, well, personally, I'd say the one that works better for me, I'll take that. So that's how people are thinking. People suddenly are waking up and saying, well, what? Oh, Huawei is Chinese. But most people in Latin America really ignore this fact to date. So how can we achieve a situation where we have this balance in terms of power worldwide, that it does not simply become a continuation of privileges, that we build a bridge towards a culture of equality. And that can only happen through conversation and through the involvement of citizenship and through a focus on the common good, on the public good, and trying to provide benefits to the majority. And the truth is that digital technology does not affect democracy, but multilateralism is affected, and they're actually two sides of the same coin. And inequality is also in there, in the mix. So this is a kind of triangle that you have. That is how you have to see the way in which the majority interests are affected, and that will also have an impact on minorities. It will have an impact on all of us who are very connected. So I believe that we are right now really at a juncture in a world that is inundated with information which is irrelevant, really. So what will be the difference here? What will make a difference? And that is what humanity can bring to bear on the situation, which is clarity. Clarity equates power. He who has clarity, those who have clarity know which way to take, and that will translate into real power. And therefore, I'd like to simply end by saying that technology is not neutral, never has been, and those who can achieve the right balance between opportunities are ourselves. Why? In order to ensure that technology and politics are not just the art of the possible, but also the art of making possible tomorrow what seems impossible today. Thank you very much.
And ladies and gentlemen, now please welcome Gillian York.